Hi and welcome to this reading. My name is Liz Zamorsky. I'm doing this reading today for all air signs. That's Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. And I'm just going to jump right in. The cards that I'm using today are Angels and Ancestors by Kyle Gray and also Goddess Power by Colette Baron Reed. I'm going to start with the Goddess Power. I just feel called to do that. I have 3 so far. The first one is number 7, Bronwyn, Forgiveness. Okay, this is going to sound totally bizarre, but for some of you I feel like the message is coming through that there was some kind of alien energy. Something was so foreign or felt so out of the norm. Like I'm seeing an octopus, and what I'm thinking of with an octopus is that they say that, or I've heard this lore before, that octopus have alien DNA in them that's in no other life form on Earth. And I always think of aliens as like UFOs or little green men. But I feel like there's some type of energy or situation that was with you that it didn't occur anywhere. Like it occurred nowhere else in your life. Like it was totally alien to you. You had never experienced it before. It was like meeting little green men who just came off of a space shuttle. It was so bizarre or so out of the ordinary or so out of your normal way of thinking that this situation blindsided you. And naturally you were curious about it. You thought, okay, this is something totally new. I've never experienced this before. And you went for it. And that's part of the human experience, is being curious and allowing yourself to explore. And I feel like that bit you. That hurt you. It cut you. It left you with a wound. And you're now being called to start the process of forgiveness. I feel like you've been so stunned since this thing happened, or since you experienced this energy or this situation. You've almost been in a state of heart shock. Like your heart has been shocked, closed. So I feel like you're being called to start peeling away the layers of your experience, and that will help you start the process of forgiveness, because you need to forgive the situation in order to move on. You need to forgive the fact that you are human and that you're allowed to be curious, and that curiosity and following your curiosity is a big part of this human experience. And so I just feel like you've been blaming yourself, or it's been really heavy on you that you did the human thing, that you were curious and you pursued it, even if there were red flags, because it was just so new and so different than anything else you had ever experienced before. So I do feel like it's time for you to start forgiving yourself and forgiving the situation, but mostly forgiving yourself. The second card that came up is 50, Wild Buffalo Calf Woman, Reverence. And what do you... Okay, I feel like she's not holding something, but her hand is around this feather dress that's coming from her head. And it kind of reminds me of the headdress from the first card, where it's this kind of like starburst of light. And I feel like that starburst of light represents you, where you're almost this magnet that draws certain energies to you. And you used to wear it. It used to be like so much a part of your aura that I feel like you felt like you kept attracting really strange situations where you were like, are you serious? Nobody else has to deal with this. Like, this is so bizarre. And yet it went from being this big thing, like this big corona, not the virus, but a big corona around your head, to now, through this process of forgiveness of attracting and being curious about those energies and seeing them through, that once you can forgive that and embrace it more as, I'm a magnet for these situations because I'm following the spice of life. Once you can kind of embrace it more as a gift, then it goes from being something that's almost out of your control to being something that's shrunk down, that you can control, and that you can send out your vibe, send out your magnet, turn on your tracker beam when that feels comfortable for you. But otherwise you can keep it small, and it's more controllable. It's more something that you know that you can turn on and off, and you have your hand around it. You're in control of it. It's not just something that you're walking around wearing like a Las Vegas headdress. So I think that there's something about, that this process of forgiveness is going to lead you to this big change in your perception of that thing. It's going to go from being this uncontrollable magnet to being something that you get to decide and you get to control. And that's going to require a lot of respect of that gift. That Spider-Man phrase, with great, I'm sure somebody else besides Spider-Man said it, but with great power comes great, with great power comes great responsibility. That once you realize that you have that control, that you can, it's like I'm seeing the opening on the aperture on a camera where the lens opens more and lets more light in, or closes more and goes inward. Once you realize that you have that ability and that you control how big it gets and how small, it's a lot of responsibility, because you might start feeling like you want it closed all the time, that you don't want to send out the beam, that you don't want the light to come in. But then that keeps everything good out. Not just the aliens, but everything good. So start finding a balance. Once you move into that second phase, be aware that you're going to have to strike a balance. And then the third card that came out, it's Lazy. I'm sure her name is not pronounced Lazy. As I said it, I was like, this is wrong. But so this lady with the L name, Revelation, and it's a number 28, which is a 10 energy and a 1 energy. So it's the absolute closing of a chapter, closing of a cycle, and the start of a new one. Because in this, I'm saying it exactly like that because I feel like you're not going to have a break. You're going to go through the forgiveness. You're going to move into the time of balance where you have to start respecting when you need to be open and when you can be closed, and going, giving, taking, balancing, masculine, feminine, like the yin yang. You're going to start creating a cycle where you intuitively know when it's time to be open and when it's time to be closed. And the energy that this is going to give you, it is absolutely beautiful. It's this pink, soft, joyful energy, but you can see this woman, she's holding her hand out and she's creating, in my interpretation of it, she's creating fire in her hand, because when fire is really, really hot, it's that blue and white flame. So I feel like she's creating a natural element in her hand, and then it's coming up like lightning, and then it's bursting. And that to me is also the lotus flower. And the lotus flower, I love lotus flower imagery because I feel like it's very poignant in my life. But the lotus flower, the root takes root in the swamp, in the bog, in the mud. And then the roots grow up and the stem is coming up, and then it comes to the surface and the beautiful lotus flower bud comes up and opens. And you have this absolutely beautiful, perfect pink flower on the surface, and it can only grow in the mud because it takes all the nutrients it needs from something that's so usually disgusting, right? And so I feel like she's showing me that she has the power to use her nature, her inner element, her nature, to create something really beautiful out of something that normally would make you cringe. And so I feel like these 3 phases are really poignant for you right now, where you're attracting the bizarre stuff, you then have to peel away the layers and forgive. You then are going to start going through the big change where you're going to start realizing that you control this situation. You have all this responsibility, you create respect for it, and you strike a balance within yourself. And then you move into the phase where you're not just controlling when it's open or closed, but you're controlling the outcomes. You're able to choose at every moment whether you're going to let the mud suck you down. I keep hearing like getting your boots stuck in the mud, and that sound when you sink down into some mud, and the first thought in your head is, oh no, or something worse. But I think, oh no, because this is going to be a situation where you're going to have to really wedge your foot around. But instead of getting sucked down by the mud and all the frustration that brings with it, you're actually going to start using the energy and the nutrients that the mud can give you to not just rise above it, but to grow through it and to bloom on the surface, to blossom on the surface. So I feel like there's this long journey that you've already started. You're already on the path. You're already on the journey. But for you now, it's really just pulling all these weird alien pieces, all this alien DNA together. Now the octopus makes more sense because I feel like it's like 8 arms reaching out and just being like, we got all this stuff. What do we do with it now? But using all these elements, all these parts that you've collected on your journey, and then learning how to synthesize them together to give you your aha moment. Because I feel like that's coming for you. I feel like that's coming for you. That this process, it's not something that's going to take a long time, but it's going to require a lot of concentration, a lot of focus. There's a camera analogy again, but it's going to require you to really have pinpoint focus and to open and close that aperture as needed. I'm going to pull one more. I don't know what I'm doing on time, but I'm going to pull one more card. This one's from the Angels and Ancestors. Is there anything else these air signs need to know? Ooh. She just jumped out. So this one is Seer. See beyond the current situation. And I feel like that is the perfect card for this reading, because she's also doing something with her hands. I feel like that's significant to some of you, if not one specific person. There's something about that, the hands, and how I've been going like this, and I see her hands like this, and this woman's like this, and this woman's like that. There's something about the hands. The hands pointing the way, I just heard. But so, see beyond the current situation. Like, right now, you might still be in the alien, bizarro world. But there's more to it. And so you're being called to see it, oh my gosh, this camera thing again. See it through a different lens. There's somebody here that I'm connecting to who's like eating up these camera metaphors, and take it, because I'm so glad that we're connecting. But I just find it really funny that for some reason and like 3 times I tried to start this reading and my camera kept messing up. So I feel like there's somebody watching this, or somebody who needs to hear this message, who the camera is like your thing. And for the rest of you too, take this. But I think it's so funny that this keeps coming out. Like, change your lens. Check the aperture. I'm getting the energy, don't be afraid. Don't shrink back. Don't be afraid. You have all the tools and the support and the guidance you need to make sense of all of this, to go through this process. But each step is a vital element, and you can do it. And you're going to come out the other side being able to grow the lotus flower. You are the lotus flower. But thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to your next reading. Bye now.